gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 20th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented this morning by Ware, your headquarters for all your Canes merchandise needs. Ware, where they have the largest store ever for Miami Hurricanes gear, and you could find them on University Drive in Davie or at canesware.com. And we'll be talking more about Canesware later in the show. But man, I thought we'd start out this morning. You know, there's so much going on in college football, and people are talking about, Alabama and Florida State, and of course, everybody's favorite subject, Colorado, which has become the most polarizing topic of conversations maybe in the history of the CaneSport.com message boards. Constant debate. People are saying, why is everybody talking about Colorado? Some people are threatened by it. Some people are annoyed by it. Some people want us to ban conversation about Colorado. But there's just one problem with all that, and I think we touched on it yesterday. People want to talk about Colorado. So we are letting them talk about Colorado if they want to, and if they don't want to, just they could skip the thread and they don't need to talk about Colorado. But everybody in the country right now is talking about Colorado. Colorado had a 10 o'clock game on Saturday, and it was one of the highest rated college football games of the season so far, and just got insane television ratings. 10 o'clock East Coast to kickoff time. But all that said, I thought we would start out this morning and talk about what might be a little bit of a forgotten team in college football right now. Kind of jumped on the radar a little bit with a victory over Texas A&M a couple weeks ago, but then you've had this little lull in the schedule with these midweek games and Bethune-Cookman. And so I wouldn't say that the Miami Hurricanes are totally on the radar just yet, but they are kind of starting to show up a little bit. They're that storm that's out in the distance that is coming, and it's coming fast, but you're not really worried about it yet. You're not going out and buying your cases of water yet, just because of this lull in the schedule. So sent Matt back to his lab where he's been doing so well lately. And this time I said, you know what, Matt, your eyes are probably bothering you a little bit. You've been looking at so much videotape. This time, why don't you just let your fingers do the talking? And why don't you write a column for the website on Wednesday morning about why not the Miami Hurricanes? And Matt was all excited. He's like, yes, I don't have to watch film this time. So he was thrilled. And he got to just go in there and let that crazy brain of his wander and kind of create some magic. And voila, you have it on the website this morning. Matt Shodell opining on why not the Miami Hurricanes. Matt, tell us about it.
That was probably one of the weirdest introductions ever. But yeah, so look, the whole point of the story is why not Miami? Everyone, like you said, everyone's talking about the Oregons and the Florida States, about some of the top programs struggling, losing like Alabama and Clemson. People are focused on all these other teams nationally. You just don't really hear about Miami. I mean, there's a Miami press conference the last 2 days. You don't see any national media covering it, talking about it. But Miami's in the top 20, and I don't know how much stock I put in this. There's this one, the College Football Power Index that ESPN comes up with, where they claim they run 20,000 simulations for each team based on other teams remaining on the schedules, results so far and how good they might be, and who the hell knows how they do this. But regardless, they have Miami probably in the best position that I've seen anybody somewhat reputable have them in. They have them finishing basically with a 10-win season. They have them projected with 9.7 wins right now. They have them with a 17.4% chance of winning the conference, 7.8% chance of making the playoffs, 2.7% of making the national title game, and a 1% chance of winning the national championship. That's right. We have a chance. 1%. We have 1% chance. Look, these things are a little silly. It's been 3 games. Miami's beaten one team that might not even be that good. Maybe Texas A&M's great, but my guess is they're not great. Okay, my guess is we're going to know what and where Miami stands after they play North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State. Then we're going to have a really good idea where Miami stands in terms of its roster talent and how good it is this season. Now, I think it's a much better team than a lot of people thought it would be. I projected them for 8 wins before the season. I think it's more likely now that they get 10 than 8. Probably 9 is where I'd settle right now. But that 9's a great season. And from where we started, from a 5-7 season, I will take 9 wins. Miami fans should happily take 9 wins because, that's the trajectory you want to be on, that upward trajectory. And that's where they are right now. It's clear they're on that upward trajectory. And to me, it seems clear that within 2 or 3 years, this will be a playoff team, especially with the new system. So look, it's not something a reporter enjoys trying to write after 3 games and saying, Miami's going to be in the ACC title game. Why not? Why can't Miami?
Excited.
Yeah, it just reflects the excitement. It's not a real story. It's a fake story, okay? I wrote a fake story about Miami maybe deserving to be mentioned as an ACC title game favorite because why not?
People are going to like it because they're tired of Colorado talk.
Yeah, listen, Colorado talk. Listen, at the end of the day, the truth is this Miami offense is really, really good. And the truth is the Miami defense has a chance to make some disruptive plays. Miami doesn't play another real opponent, honestly, until North Carolina. So I've already started looking at North Carolina film. And when you look, I haven't looked at their defense yet, but I've been looking at their offense a lot. And when you look at Drake May, he's thrown 4 interceptions this year. And I looked at all 4 of them. One of them bounced off his own receiver's hands, should have been caught. The other 3, he was pressured. And one of them, he just blindly threw the ball to where he thought the receiver was going to be based on the route tree. And the receiver was nowhere near, not even within 10 yards. There was no North Carolina player within 10 yards of the ball. And there was a defender right there who caught it for an interception. The key with Drake May, and Lance Guidry is clearly going to see it, is get pressure on him. And guess what? North Carolina likes to protect with 5 players. They love to spread the field with 4 wide, sometimes 3 wide with an H-back. But the H-back goes out on routes. They love to protect with 5. And, Lance Guidry clearly told us he will never rush 4. He said rushing 4, that's what the offense wants. So that's going to be a really, really interesting chess match when he starts sending pressure from different areas and dropping defensive linemen and doing whatever the hell he does. You can drop defensive linemen and linebackers against this team. The only interesting thing that he's really going to have to worry about is their tight ends, receiving-wise, are better than anyone's Miami's seen. They throw screens to the running backs, and they have a running quarterback who also happens to be an outstanding passing quarterback. They can hurt you in a variety of ways, and they run the ball. Right now, the running backs are running the ball more than 50% of the time, in that offense. Whereas last year it was 29% of the time the running backs carried the ball. So this is a new offensive coordinator who wants to establish a run and who has all these weapons at his disposal. The only thing that I've seen on tape that Miami can really have the advantage on is getting after Drake May. I think that their front 4 with help from whoever blitzes, whatever, the system they run, they should be able to get a lot of quick pressure on May. And when May is forced to make these snap decisions, he has had some problems. He has turned the ball over. Now, can he throw amazingly well on the run? Yes. We're going to show you that before the North Carolina game. He will roll out, throw across his body, and throw a strike 30 yards down the field. He does that, But that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. He's projected as a top 5 NFL quarterback pick for a reason. He's really, really good. The way you get him to be not good is to pressure him. And that's what Lance Guidry's specialty is. Dialing up pressure, doing weird stuff that maybe Drake May hasn't seen before. And when I put on the tape of North Carolina the other day, the very first play I saw, okay, they had a spread formation, 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and one of the 2 slot receivers was an offensive lineman. They put their right tackle in the slot, and they put their tight end at left tackle. And the defense seemed unaware of that. The left tackle was left tackle eligible, tight end. Tight end immediately just runs straight up the field, The right defensive end rushes like you normally do, seem very bewildered. Why is the left tackle running down the field, not even touching me, like when he's running a route? And nobody's within 10 yards of him. No one's within 10 yards of the tight end. These are the sort of intricacies that we're going to see, and we'll break it down at some point. But it's going to be an amazing game. That North Carolina game is going to be an amazing game. I think both teams should be 5-0 entering that game, and there will not have been a bigger game than this since Notre Dame to me. Like, this is a huge moment for Miami, and you want to have people stop talking about Colorado and these other programs. Beat North Carolina.
I don't have any problem with it because it's the hottest topic in college football. So, like, I'm not so bothered by it.
No,
but
I don't mean, I meant generic you, not you personally.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if you, you, want people to stop talking about these other programs, beat North Carolina at North Carolina, go 6-0, and guess what? The national media will be all over Miami, believe me.
No doubt.
And how nice would it be? Miami versus Colorado for the national championship. I'm predicting it right now.
Forget
Miami
that.
has a 1% chance to be there. So
no, that party should have been over the other night, and I think it's going to be over this week. They got to play at Oregon.
I know.
So.
How much fun would I would love to see Miami play Colorado. I wish it was on the schedule for like this week instead of this nonsense game at Temple. Like, how much fun would that be?
It would be comical. There's no doubt about it. You know.
By the way, I think Miami would win that game. You know, if Travis Hunter was playing, I don't know. But without Travis Hunter, Miami wins that game. Easy.
I would hope so. But I mean, they've done a hell of a job. They turned 70 players on their roster through the portal. So they're for real. I mean, they have a real team. But anyway, so great concept. Why not Miami? And the Canes are sequentially building a case for themselves here this season. But to me, Matt, the most important thing is one game at a time. Don't try to think big picture.
Oh my Lord! I don't want to hear one game at a time anymore from anybody.
That's
all the players say.
This team is held together by whatever kind of tape you want to use as an example. Like there are just some injuries they can't afford. Okay. And one of them they might have, and we don't know the severity of it yet. And that's a key Messidor. And we don't know when he's going to be back. Okay. We think he will be back, but we don't know when. We don't know if we'll see him at all at Temple. We don't know if we'll see him against Georgia Tech. We don't know if he'll be ready for North Carolina. Nobody knows right now. So, this is a mystery. But that's a guy, in my opinion, when they get to North Carolina, they need him on the field very, very badly. Yeah. Okay. Without him, I think the pass rush is not as good. And they're going to need a pass rush big time in that North Carolina game. But, we're not going to jump ahead because I'm sitting here saying one game at a time. So North Carolina is still a couple games away. But, of course, Matt hijacked the subject and went off on a tangent on North Carolina.
That's the next moment for Miami. They're going to beat Temple. They're going to beat Georgia Tech at home. I mean, it's a given. It's sort of boring. Like, what are we going to sit here and break down Temple and say E.J. Warner, might throw for 200 yards and Miami might only win by 10 points? I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, what's the point?
It's not good. The Temple game doesn't figure to be that interesting. I'm already trying to figure out how am I going to be an interested traveler when I go to Philadelphia this weekend. And I'm excited because I think I'm going to see a lot of Canes fans there that I've seen through the years. And I'm expecting a big Miami showing in Philadelphia. I'm excited for that. Before I go to the stadium, I decided I am going to have my Gary Ferman Philly cheesesteak taste test contest. And I'm going to go to 2 or 3 Philly cheesesteak places. I'm going to buy Philly cheesesteaks and I am going to decide which one I think is the best Philly cheesesteak in Philly. So that's my way of stimulating myself. I am going to go and run the Rocky Steps because that's something I've never done. And I've always wanted to be Rocky, and I can hear the music. I could probably I'll put the music on my phone actually while I run the Rocky Steps, just so I can feel like I'm Sylvester Stallone. I'm going to go run the Rocky Steps. I'm going to go see the room where the Declaration of Independence was signed. I'm fired up about that. And I am going to go see the Liberty Bell. So I'm going to just check off all the tourist things in Philadelphia, and I'm going to make sure I do all those things before I go to watch the Canes absolutely obliterate Temple. So it's one of those weeks now. Flip ahead a few weeks to the game that Matt jumped ahead to. So I'll mention Going to North Carolina, there's going to be none of that, man. That is going to be all business. There's going to be no tourist activity. I'm going to be laser focused on the game. I'm going to get to the stadium 4 hours before kickoff. I am going to be ready to go for Miami at North Carolina this year. I am pumped for that game. So if you guys live anywhere within the vicinity of North Carolina, I recommend you get yourselves in a car and get yourselves to Chapel Hill and go see Miami at North Carolina this year. I think it is going to be a very good football game and very exciting. But
by the way, I lived in Baltimore for 4 years. I used to drive from Baltimore to Philadelphia just to get cheesesteaks, spend a half a day up there.
Oh, really?
They moved to Liberty Bell. I lived way back when, but they moved to Liberty Bell now. You have to.
How do you move the Liberty Bell?
It was in one location. Now they put it in a different location. You have to buy a ticket and walk through this thing.
I think isn't it near Independence Hall? Isn't it part of the whole thing there?
It's at the end of whatever. They moved it from wherever it was to a new spot.
I hope it's at Independence Hall, because that's where I'm planning on seeing it.
Yeah, well, wherever it is, I'm telling you right now, it's glass encased, and you could buy a ticket and wait in line for an hour, or just walk around the end of the building, and literally you can see it through the clear glass. So what I was trying to tell you is
that will be good enough for me.
That's what I would do. And as far
but I do want to see the room where the Declaration of Independence was signed. I'm looking forward.
And okay. Here it says, let's see, it was moved to a pavilion. In 2003, it was relocated to the Liberty Bell Center, which is part of the Independence National Historic Park. So yeah, it was moved in 2003. I moved there. I lived there from 97 to 2001. Anyway, it's when I lived in Baltimore. But the Philadelphia cheesesteaks, they are absolutely amazing. And I'm not a fan of Cheese Whiz, but I was going
to say, did you put the Cheese Whiz on?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I think
I don't know if I'm going to put the Cheese Whiz on.
I can't remember. Well, you have to. I can't remember if it was Pat's or not. There's one of them where
I feel like that's destroying my arteries if I use that Cheese Whiz.
That's what you got to do.
Maybe I'll ask him to do half and half Cheese Whiz. I'll figure it out. I'll try the Cheese Whiz, but I really want provolone.
It was one of those like Pat's or Jim's or somewhere where they have all the famous Philadelphia athletes that have been there with signed pictures on the walls, like old school. And you place your order at this counter, and it's like the Soup Nazi episode of Seinfeld, where you stand in line, you very rigidly, you stand there you have to give your order perfectly, or make you leave, and then you have to slowly move down the line in the exact order, or they yell at you. It's like a whole big thing. And it's look, the cheesesteaks are amazing. I don't know why nobody else can replicate it, but it's a great experience.
Since you do restaurant reviews for CaneSport.com, for the people that are going to Philadelphia, and like I said, I think there are going to be a lot of Canes fans going to Philadelphia this weekend. Which is the best cheesesteak place?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Where should they go?
I haven't been there in so long, but Pat's and Gino's. Just if you go on South Street, I think it was maybe 2 blocks from where 95 is, and the water's right past that. That's where they all. There's a couple places right there that are super famous.
There's Pat's, there's Gino's.
Yeah, those I think are the 2 famous ones. It was one or the other. The one that has all the athletes on the wall and looks like it's about to fall down. This was 20 years ago, but I mean that's where, or 30 years ago. That's where I would go.
Which one was that?
I can't remember.
Probably Pat's, right?
It might have been Pat's. Yeah, I think it was Pat's. If I had to guess, I'd say Pat's. But
yeah, all right.
But they're all great. I mean, there's no such thing. If you're coming from Miami, it's like going to New York and getting a bagel somewhere. There's no bad bagels. It's like going to New York and getting pizza. There's no bad pizza, because where we're coming from, the pizza's not the same, the bagels aren't the same, and the cheesesteaks down here aren't the same. So, I mean, it's going to be great no matter where you go. If you're coming from Miami and getting a cheesesteak in Philadelphia, you can go to the worst cheesesteak place in Philadelphia. You'll still be like, this is amazing, because you're comparing it.
I'm going to get multiples of them.
You're comparing it to the horse that's being sold out of a container on the side of the road that we usually buy.
Yeah, all right. This better be
They do
good.
that. They do that.
Do they use good quality steak at least?
In Philadelphia?
Yeah.
I hope so. What do you think I'm an expert? What are you asking me?
I mean, I hope it's not
the expert on cheesesteaks. I went there 30 years ago, and now I'm the expert on cheesesteaks.
I don't know, but I'm really going to be disappointed if it's like a tourist trap and they have crappy steak. I want prime ribeye quality steak that they cut up and grill and make a great cheesesteak.
The only thing that I noticed about the cheesesteak up there versus cheesesteaks I've had at other places, which are awful, is somehow it's they cut it paper thin. I mean, the cheesesteak is paper thin, and it melts in your mouth because of that. I don't know if it's more fatty or whatever, but it melts in your mouth. Whereas cheesesteaks you get down in Miami or even in New York, which is where I grew up, it's like these thin slices of steak, but they're sort of more chewy. Somehow they have it down to
Well, I'm gonna be the restaurant review guy
Yeah,
for a
there you
moment
go.
here, because I have found two places in South Florida that I think have the best Philly cheesesteak type sandwiches. Okay. One is in Pembroke Pines in Broward County called North South Grill. Okay. It's Flamingo Road and Pines Boulevard. Check it out if you live anywhere in that vicinity and you like your cheesesteaks. North South Grill. Amazing cheesesteak sandwiches. Okay. And then the other one is in South Miami. There's a place called Cracked by Chef Adrian. You ever been there, Matt? You ever go to Cracked?
I've been to Chef Adrian's restaurants, but not Cracked.
No, not the one out west in
There's a
Kendall.
bunch of restaurants.
This is in South Miami called Cracked, okay? And they have a filet mignon steak sandwich there. It's a little small, but it's enough if you're going for lunch or something. That is just spectacular. So those are my recommendations. And I'm not like, I'm not out every night for dinner like Matt, but I have found those two places. I happen to personally like cheesesteak, and I recommend those two to you guys. And the one to Crack that has the filet mignon steak sandwich is actually a couple minutes from the U. So check it out.
You know what's annoying is what people give you. Never get people gift cards. This is nothing with football or Miami, but whatever. Never get people gift cards, okay? Because I have so many. I have a Chef Adrian gift card to Redfish, which she no longer is involved with.
That's supposed to be great. You've never used it?
I never used it. It's gone. She doesn't. It's not hers anymore. It was like a $200 gift card. I never went there. I have probably thousands of dollars in gift cards.
That was supposed to be a good restaurant. She gave it up, huh?
That I've never used. Yeah, I don't know who's running that place now, but it's not her. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right. So let's get back to this. So anyway, so why not Miami? That's the subject of the day today. We've got the column on the front page. You guys can read that this morning, and I think you'll enjoy that subject. Let's see what else we got this morning. We have a analysis of what Miami is getting in 4-star small forward Isaiah Johnson Adurigu. And man, it's middle football season. Nobody's focused on basketball. If last year's Final Four run did not turn you into a Miami basketball fan, then you don't have a pulse. Well, the team's going to be pretty damn good this year. And Jim Larinaga is recruiting like he's 30 years old. I mean, they're going to have a top 5 recruiting class this year. If they get one more commitment, which is actually being announced today, there's a 5-star guard. For some reason, my mind is blanking on his name right this minute. But he's announcing today, and I think that they got a great chance to get him. And if you add him to the existing recruiting class, I think it's going to shoot Miami into like top 5 recruiting class territory. And just a phenomenal job by Jim Larinaga and his staff. And so today we have a guy they got a commitment on a few days ago, a small forward by the name of Isaiah Johnson Adurigu, and an analysis on what Miami is getting with him. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, and the 5 stars. I don't want to interrupt you, but the 5 stars Bethea.
Bethea, yes, Jaleel.
Yeah,
Jaleel Bethea, correct. He is announcing today. I think there's a great chance that Miami gets him. So
3 p.m. he'll be announcing.
Yep. So make sure you guys keep an eye on that. And of course, if he comes to Miami, we will have a story about it later today on the website. But they've done a great job recruiting him. So they got to beat out Kansas. That's not an easy one, but I think they got a great shot at landing him and putting him with what they already have and what they've recruited. And man, Miami basketball is going to be exciting for several seasons to come. I am fired up about that as well. All right, we got some recruiting things on the website to talk about. But first, I am going to get you guys fired up about Ware. And with the Canes doing so well, you want to be well decked out in the latest Miami Hurricanes gear. And there's no better place to do that than Ware. And I'm going to throw a picture of their store up on the screen so you can kind of visualize your shopping experience while I talk about it. And Ware in Davie has opened a much larger store this year. It's the largest Cane store that's ever been created, and it's in the same shopping plaza that you've become accustomed to visiting, just a little bit further down at 2655 South University Drive. And like I said, they've got the largest selection of Canes gear in town, more than you could ever imagine. T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets, all sizes, men's, women's, kids, babies. They even have Canes gear in this store for pets. And if you still, these home games seem to be coming at us in rapid fire succession so far this year. But there's, I think, 4 of them left, and you might want to get some new tailgating stuff. You can get tents and tables and chairs for all your tailgating needs. And they even have gear for the Dolphins, the Panthers, Inter Miami Soccer. This is a great time to get stocked up at Ware, which is more than just a store. It is an experience. And in that new expanded location, like I said, they have the largest selection of Miami Hurricanes gear in town. So get on out to 2655 South University Drive in Davie. It's right next to La Spada Sub Shop. Not a place you're going to get a Philly cheesesteak like I was talking about earlier, but if you like cold subs, turkey, roast beef, ham cheese, La Spada has phenomenal subs. It's right next door to Cane's, where you can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, have a good sub, and go buy yourself some Cane's gear. And if you can't get to their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, you can go to canesware.com. And their website is open 24 hours a day for all your mail order. And I think you're going to love that experience as well. So visit the store, 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or go to canesware.com for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the recruiting stories that are on our website today. We've got 5 questions regarding David Stone's recruitment as Miami looks to make a move with the Oklahoma commitment. And Matt, I know you're not doing as much recruiting coverage this year as you have in past years, but David Stone is obviously a household name to everybody, and it looked like Miami was going to get him. Then he committed to Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma, but the more I read, and people will read this story today, I still think this is one where Miami is going to be in it right to the very end.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that he didn't pick Miami. Miami has pretty strong ties now with IMG Academy, and there were predictions that Miami was going to be the place that won out. His family likes Miami a lot. He likes Miami a lot. He got around Miami's program a lot. He knows players at Miami, and the real factor here that people don't really take into account is these commitments in the summer were when people knew Miami was 5-7, and when people thought Miami was not going to be very good this year, and Miami wasn't ranked by anybody, Miami wasn't getting any national recognition by anybody, and there were a lot of question marks around the program. So I think as this season goes along, signing day is not until December, right? So if Miami really can be that force that you see, and we already know Mario Cristobal is relentless in his recruiting approach, personally handling all these recruitments. And Miami is still obviously chasing him and other players that committed elsewhere. All the guys who officially visited for the most part are still hearing from Miami, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Miami doesn't just give up on guys anymore because they commit somewhere else. In the old days, we would call a commitment we'd call a player who committed somewhere else over Miami, and Miami coach would be all upset that he didn't pick them, and they'd stop talking to him, for months. And then, maybe a month before signing day, he'd be like, oh yeah, I just started hearing from Miami again. They hadn't talked to me for 2 months. Not anymore. Mario Cristobal's whole thing is, it's a family bond. It's not okay, you're going somewhere else, screw you. It's, we want the best for you. We want the best for your future, and we want the best for your family. And if Miami is the right fit for you, great. And if you go somewhere else, we just want you to succeed in your life. And that's the message he hammers home, no matter whether they pick Miami or not. Because guess what? With the transfer portal, the player, David Stone can go to Oklahoma and be at Miami in 2 years or in 1 year, whatever. There's no end to recruiting anymore. It's not, oh, well, he signed, he's gone. It's, okay, he signed somewhere else, we'll get him next year, It's not just recruiting high school kids anymore. So developing and keeping relationships with every prospect is so important. And it would not surprise me at all if Miami can win 10-plus games. It would not surprise me at all if a handful of guys who committed elsewhere in June and July wind up at Miami at the end of the day. A lot of it will be NIL, but a lot of it will also be, look at the success we're having, look at, where we're heading, and you can be part of it.
Yeah, all right. So we have that story on the website today. Make sure you check that out. We've got a story on Elite 2026 prospects that are high on Miami after making game day visits so far this season. That's a cool little thing, just if you want to look ahead to future recruiting classes. Let's see. We've got you know what? Before we go, I do want to talk about one non-recruiting story that I thought is absolutely hysterical, and that is the tight end Cam McCormick is applying for a 9th year of eligibility. He wants to play for the Canes one more season. Matt, I don't know how he is going to pull this off, but man, you got to love a guy that just enjoys playing college football.
Yeah, I've never heard a question like he was asked in yesterday's press conference in my life. He was actually asked this question. This was the question. How old are you? That was the whole question. He's like, I'm 25. I've never heard that question asked before. But that really told this whole story. He could have just ended the press conference there. It could have been, questions, please. How old are you? 25. Okay, we're done. Everyone go home. Because that's really what the entire press conference was about. It was, why are you in college? You're an adult. You could have had 3 children by now and be living in the suburbs with the fence and commuting to work, and you could have had been at your job for 4 years and be the CEO in a couple of years. But no, he's still toiling with 18-year-olds. 17-year-olds would have to leave early. So with 18-year-olds, who honestly, I mean, he could babysit. Some of these high school prospects, or I don't know if high school kids have babysitters, but if a parent wanted a high school prospect to have a babysitter, he's the perfect babysitter. He is very mature, and you could tell in his interview, it's not like a normal interview with a high school prospect or even a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It's like talking to another adult. I don't know if that sounds weird, because a lot of people view when you're 18, 19, 20 as an adult, but he speaks differently. He speaks like an old person, when you talk to him. So I don't want to get too into, I can't explain why he sounds like an old person, but he does. And maybe it's just because I know he is an old person. And I sort of like that he's an old person because I can relate to him. I have a feeling he wakes up in the morning and he, just like me, he groans when he has to get out of bed and his body's aching and his back hurts. He's got to stretch for 25 minutes before he can even, eat his breakfast, and, probably takes, medication like me for high cholesterol, high blood pressure, the whole thing. That's how I picture Cam McCormick. But the funny part is, they're like, well, you're applying for a 9th year. Someone asked him, so you're applying for a 9th year of eligibility? He's like, yeah. And they're like, so if you get it, would you still be in college next year? And he's like, I don't know. At what point do you stop going to college? When you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50? When do you stop? Like, how many years in a row do you need to be in college? Who's in college, in undergraduate college? Well, he could be in graduate school, but for 9 years, what classes is he taking? That's what I should have asked him. What classes haven't you taken? He'd be like, I'm taking Math 480 for the 7th time this semester. I'm taking World Geography for the 4th time this semester. He must be repeating classes he took 7 years ago. There's only so many classes that you want to take. I don't know. 3 graduate degrees.
Get them to give him 9 years, a 9th year of eligibility.
Somebody on the message boards was joking that he has his MBA and his law degree already. I've never heard of somebody like, even the highest achieving students who aren't athletes, they go to college for 4 years. They go to graduate school, medical school for 4 years, whatever. He's already going to be past that point, right?
Hey, if I could have stayed in college forever, I would have done it. I wish I'd stayed. I'll tell you that, man. It's been all downhill since I walked off that campus at the U.
Maybe that's what he's going for. Professional student.
Nothing like
that's going to be his job. He's a professional student. I like that job. I would do that job.
There's nothing like being in college. You were at Wisconsin this past weekend. Is there anything like? It's like you're watching your kid. Like, is there anything better? Like,
no.
It's like
they're doing jump around. Jump around. Did
he let you sit with him at the Wisconsin game?
Yeah, we sat with him at the Wisconsin game because he couldn't get student tickets this year. They have some weird system, whatever. So we sat together, and jump around comes up, and really, what jump around is, I discovered, is nobody's jumping. They're just putting their hands up and down in the air like this, and trying to avoid getting thrown up on.
They're too drunk to actually elevate.
Right. So it's jump around is all about not being thrown up on by the person behind you. Because if they're actually jumping after they had 8 beers, they're going to throw up right on you. So everyone's looking around, trying to make sure nobody's thrown up on them while you're going like this. That's all it is. People are literally moving around because they don't want to be thrown up on.
Nobody's having a great time,
to
right?
Jump around. It's all about not getting vomited on.
But the point is, he's having a great time, right? There's like nothing like being in college. Yeah, it's great. It doesn't matter where you're, Miami, Wisconsin, Colorado.
No, if he could stay in college for 9 or 10 years, he probably would. I haven't given him that option. If I gave him the option, do you want to stay in college for 9 years? He'd be like, yeah, I'll stay in college for 9 years. That sounds great. Why not?
Can you imagine being a student at Colorado and you go to the football game Saturday and all of a sudden Lil Wayne is leading the team out of
I know somebody from down here whose son is there, and they were up there for the game, and they stormed the field. You know, somebody's like, why do you keep storming the field? It's like if Miami beat Temple, if they were playing here. Let's say Miami beats Georgia Tech on a last-second touchdoon. You know, would people be storming the field? You know, you're beating a bad team barely.
They might try if they beat Clemson.
If you beat Clemson, it's one thing, but it's not like Colorado State's this amazing team. You know, I mean, they're storming the field for beating average teams barely. That's where they're at Colorado right now.
Yeah, but it's just so funny. I was just saying, like, can you imagine being a student there and all of a sudden Lil Wayne is leading your team out of the tunnel and he's doing a rap? Like, there's nothing like college. But anyway, let me think. If you missed CaneSport Live last night, we do have the podcast on the website this morning. You can listen to that. Tonight we've got the Lamar Thomas show. That's always a fun show that you guys would enjoy. So check that one out tonight. And that's about it. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. And we thank you so much for waking up with us. And if you like this show, like our channel, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube and growing our audience. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please become one. Go to the website, become a member. Your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every single day as a collective team, with our mission being to make your fan experience the greatest that it could possibly be. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again, everybody, and we will see you next time.